Today I'm using the Love Grows Here by Spellbinders, the December 2022 card kit of the month. And I'm going to share 10 cards that I've made with this very pretty kit. Okay, so we're into card number 1 and I'm making a landscape card, and I've taken the very pale grey paper with the sentiment going across. I'm adhering the paper with the tape that is in our kit. Then I've taken the very light pink cardstock from the kit and I've embossed that with the embossing folder of the month. And I've cut that slightly smaller than the A2 card front. Next I'm going to apply a strip of floral paper to the really lovely gold cardstock that's in the kit. Very sad that the new kits don't have the gold cardstock included anymore. So I'm making the most of the piece I've got here. So that little strip of floral paper, I've backed it onto the gold cardstock and then adhered that to the bottom of the card. I've then got my very cute snail. I'm going to pop that up on some foam tape. And I do like to add a little bit of glue just because it gives you a little bit more time to adjust the snail or your ephemera piece if you need to, and it also helps to make sure it stays nice and stuck. I've chosen the love sentiment from our cardstock stickers, and you probably saw there when you peel them off the clear backing sheet, it does tend to rip the adhesive off sometimes as well. So I have used glue there to adhere some of the letters. I've then taken a little banner and stamped the "You So Much" from our stamp set in the kit so that my sentiment will read "Love You So Much." And to finish off, I'm going to add some glossy accents to the little eyes of my snail. Card number 2. So I've taken the paper that has all the different birdhouses on it and I'm covering the entire card front of my A2 card, and I'm then going to take a small square piece that I've cut with the floral paper, and you'll see that I've used the stamps from the stamp set and I've chosen the little heart-shaped music notes and gold embossed those. I'm taking one of our frames and I'm going to back the frame with the paper, and I'm placing that onto the card front on a, I guess, a jaunty angle, and then I'm going to go ahead and decorate my frame. So I've chosen one of the birdhouses that's in a bit of a contrasting colour to both the frame and the paper. I've then taken one of the chipboard sentiments, which says "You Make My Heart Sing." And of course, we're going to need a pretty little bird to sit on the frame as well. And I've just backed both the birdhouse and the bird itself with some foam tape so that it'll be level with the frame. A little bit of extra decoration, I'm taking one of the cardstock banners that has the little hearts going across there to decorate up my frame a little bit more. Then to finish up, I want to add a little bit of sparkle to my bird, and I'm using the scrapbook.com sparkle pen, and then my card will be finished. Card number 3 is going to be done in landscape again, and I've taken white cardstock and embossed it again with the embossing folder of the month, and it is a lovely pattern, and I'm going to make good use of that embossed paper as a feature. You can see there at the top of my card, I've got some of that pink paper with the embossed gold hearts, and I've backed the paper with some foam tape, and then I've die cut a scallop edge, and I'm going to adhere that onto the pink edge, and I'll give it some time to actually dry and adhere to the paper properly. Now you've seen there, I've cut a whole heap of different sized and shaped banners, and they're mostly from scraps from the cards that I've already been making, and I'm going to keep those all together with a piece of washi tape And I'm then going to show you that how it looks all together now. And I haven't removed the backing off that strip yet, but I am going to keep it there handy to just measure where I'm placing each of my fishtail banners. And I should do this much more often while I'm gluing my fishtail banners in place, and you'll see why coming up soon. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll work my way along the piece of washi tape and take off my banners as I'm ready to glue those onto my card front. So I will have some of the banners overlapping the larger banners. I'm trying to make sure that I've got different coloured papers next to each other so that it's broken up. And then I've worked my way all the way across, and it just happened that I ended up with two of the gold banners, one on each side. I probably next time would maybe include a third one along the way. And you can see just there my boo-boo that I made there. I have stuck some of the banners too far up, and you won't actually see them because they'll be hidden underneath that heart-shaped panel at the top. But there's plenty to be seen as it is. So I've peeled off the back of my foam tape, and then I've adhered that with some glue onto the top of the card. Now I'm just finishing up the card with some detail by adding in some of our puffy sentiment stickers and two of the little hearts. I'm then going to bring in one of the chipboard stickers that has the gold heart, and I'm going to place that onto one of the banners there. To finish off, I'm going to bring in some clear iridescent, no, they're not iridescent, they're just clear, very shiny clear sequins, and put a little scatter of those on the card front. My card is then finished. Card number 4, I'm using the grey wood grained paper, and I'm adhering that onto my card front with the tape from the kit, and I'm going to cover the entire card front of the A2 card. To decorate the card, I've stamped and heat embossed the little birds stamp from our stamp set, and then I used my zig markers and watercolored the birds in, and also stamped in a light grey 2 little sets of the hearts from the stamp set and put a little bit of sparkle pen over top. I'm turning this into a shaker, and I've chosen a combination of white and iridescent sequins, as well as some multicolored gemstones to go inside that shaker. Now, before I adhere the shaker, I'm going to place onto the card front some banners, and I've used some tape there as well as some glue, and I'm using the really pretty heart paper, and that's a scrap from a card that I'm making in this video, and then also using another little banner in the light pink diamond background. I'm also going to add a little bit of texture by taking an embossing folder and just running a little fishtail banner through the embossing folder so that there's some texture on the card as well. And I'll come along, and that little bit of excess paper on the top of the card I will snip off, and then we can get ready to place our shaker on. And I made sure not to put too many sequins or shaker parts in there. I wanted us to be able to see the image clearly, but there's enough in there to move around and add some sparkle. So I can glue my shaker part back onto my card and overlapping one of the banners. I'm then going to take the grey bow ephemera piece, and I'm going to make it really sparkly using a good coating of the scrapbook.com sparkle pen. Now, to give this bow a little bit of dimension, I'm actually taking the second bow and I'm trimming off the tails, and then I'm going to cover that in some more sparkle pen, and you can see I'm making sure it's got a very, very nice thick coating on there. I want to make sure it catches the light really well. I'm then going to take a small piece of foam and put that in the center of the bottom bow, and then I'll glue, after I've shaped the top part of the bow, I'll glue that onto the full bow at the background there. Once that's all set up and glued in place, I'm going to go ahead and attach that onto my shaker. So just adding a small amount of glue. I want to make sure that none of the glue gets squished out and goes onto the acetate of my shaker. Adding a sentiment, I'm taking the Love You ephemera piece and I'm going to adhere that to the bottom right corner of my card. I felt like the banners needed a little bit of finishing at the top there. So I've taken what is like a square scalloped die and just put a little piece of the gold cardstock in that die, run it through, and then that's given me that nice sort of bracket edge to top off my stack of banners. Then I'm going to add a little bit more interest and highlight to the embossed piece of paper by putting sparkle pen over top of it as well. For card 5, I'm taking a piece of black cardstock and I'm covering the entire front of my A2 card base. I've taken this paper that has the hearts in gold foil and the pretty keys, and I've cut that about 1/4 of an inch smaller than my black layer. I've then taken my heart-shaped frame and I'm turning that into a shaker. I've cut a separate piece of black card and that's going to be the backer for my shaker frame, and I'm just topping it up with 2 different colours of heart-shaped sprinkles from Cat Scrappiness. So I've got a lighter pink and then a brighter pink. Then I'm going to take my frame and you can see I've got black foam tape on there, and I'm just going to add some glue to my foam and then I'll place that onto my frame. And once I'm happy with the positioning, I'll set that aside and let it dry. So now that my shaker frame's ready, I'm bringing in the other elements for my card, and for that I've taken a whole lot of different sized, shaped and coloured hearts from the ephemera pack, and I'm arranging those on my card front, and I'm making sure they're all sitting at slightly different angles just to add a little bit of interest there as well. I put my little heart shaker back in position on the card so I can make sure that when I'm sticking my heart ephemera down, that the positioning is going to be in the correct place for my shaker. Just taking a bright pink ephemera heart and placing that onto my card, and I've got a couple more that I'll add on there, and I'll be ready to attach my shaker to the card set. And there's a little close up. It is very pretty, and I'm adding my glue, good amount, because I want to make sure that's nice and secure on there, and that'll attach to the front. Now for my sentiment, I've taken one of our cardstock stickers. I'm trying really hard to make sure that the backing there doesn't peel off. If it does and it's still mostly attached, I'll leave it on there, but I'll add a little glue to keep it in place. Finish off my card, I've cut myself a tiny little fishtail banner, and I'm going to place that up in the top left hand side of my card. I'm bringing in one of the little puffy hearts from the Puffy Sentiment stickers, and I'm going to use a little bit of glue because I want to keep that nice and firmly in place on that banner. And there's card number 5, almost ready, because I've gone ahead and I'm going to add a little bit of scrapbook.com sparkle pen, as well as some glossy accents to the hearts. For card number 6, I've taken the blush pink paper that has the white diamond pattern, and I'm going to attach that to the front of my A2 card, and it will cover the entire front. This card is in landscape position, and onto my pink background I'm adding some of the light grey sentiment paper. Then I've taken a piece of the very pretty navy blue bird paper. I first cut it as a rectangle, then used my corner chomper to round the corners. I've now got a strip of the pink and white floral paper, and along the bottom edge I've added a gold Love from Lizzie pinstripe peel off, and I've also stamped on there my sentiment from our stamp set. I've used a lawn form stitch scallop die in the smallest size, and I've used that to make a border for the top of my sentiment. And then here I've got a grouping of flowers and some leaves that I've arranged and placed some washi tape over the front, and to hold it in position while I tack down where I want those flowers and leaves to sit. I can then very carefully remove the washi tape or the low tack tape, and my flowers are in the exact position I want them, and I can then attach them over top of my sentiment strip. I'm then coming in with one of our little birds that matches the navy paper, and I've popped that up on some foam tape and a little bit of glue, and I'm adhering it to the top corner of the navy rectangle of blue bird paper. To finish off, I'm coming in with a touch of gloss, which is by Pink and Main, and I'm going to fill in the centres of my flower and the little eye of my bird. And then that card's all finished. Fairly simple, but very effective. Card number 7 is a fun one with the couple riding along on their push bike together, and I've taken that paper and I've covered the entire front of the card in landscape position, and then I'm taking a little piece of our grey background with white hearts to help ground the images I'm going to add to my card. So here I have the pretty hearts patterned paper with all the colours, and I've backed that onto some grey cardstock. I've then cut myself a heart, and then I've added a little bit of extra paper to one side to help keep it level for where it overlaps that heart paper in the background. Give that a nice press down and make sure it's attached. So here I've got a large ephemera piece of the couple riding the bike, and I've popped that up on the foam tape from our kit. It's a little bit thicker than some of the other tapes I use, but for this card that extra dimension I think really works. I'm then placing one of our puppy stickers onto the top left hand side, and that's going to form half of my sentiment. And then I'm taking the little tag banner that has the word together, and I'm going to place that on the bottom right hand side. So my card will read, "On this journey together," and then I'm coming in and I'm going to add some of those lovely peachy sequins that are in our kit as well. And I'm just adding the last couple there, getting them in position, and you can see I'm trying to scatter them around so that there's a little bit of sparkle all over the card. For card number 8, I'm taking this very lovely dainty pink background. I'm covering the front of our card, and it is in portrait. I've then taken the Spellbinders pinpoint essential dies, and I've cut myself a white rectangle of cardstock to place in the centre of my card. Now I tried to put this on my card front just eyeballing it, and I couldn't seem to get it straight, so I brought in my T-ruler to assist me. I've then taken a triangular scrap of cardstock and used some stitch scallops to cut that nice scalloped edge on that cardstock piece. Before I go any further, I come along with my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and I stamp my sentiment onto the bottom of that white cardstock panel. I'm now going to attach that peachy pink piece of cardstock over the top left corner of my white card panel. And I'll make sure that's attached nicely. Now this is a piece that I had left over from another project. It's a white glittery cardstock that's cut into this sort of rick-rack zigzag shape. And I'm going to trim that off between the dupes in the die cut. I'm then going to arrange 2 clouds from our ephemera pack, and I will pop one of them up on some foam tape and add some glue. And I'm also going to pop the second one up on foam tape, just remembering that where it overlaps onto the grey cloud, that it needs to be free of foam tape so it can sit flat as well. I've chosen the lovely big rainbow ephemera piece to put down the bottom of my card, and then I'm going to come in and have a sprinkling of our peachy iridescent sequins coming down from those clouds, so it's raining lovely pretty things rather than just raindrops. I guess the sequins just could be raindrops. And to finish off my card, I'm going to come in with some sparkle pen, and I'm going to go over the coloured layers of our rainbow just to bring in some more shine to my card front. And then that will be that card all finished. Card number 9, I've taken the turquoisey blue paper with the flowers on, and I've cut that down so that it is slightly smaller than our white card base. I'm using glue at the moment because I did run out of the tape in our Spellbinders kit, and the glue was next to me when I was making the card, so I've just gone ahead and used the glue. I've also taken a piece of the light pinkish coloured cardstock, and I'm placing that into the centre of my card. I'm then going to add a piece of the pink paper with the gold foiled hearts on top of that plain coloured cardstock, and you can see that has a nice width of border around there just to help frame that piece of paper. I'm then going to bring in some of the floral elements from our die cuts. I'm popping that large flower up on foam tape, but all my other flowers are going to be attached flat to the card base. And I'm going to tuck in both of my navy coloured flowers first, so they get tucked underneath that large flower. And then I've got my other smaller flowers there sitting waiting, but before I go ahead and attach them, I'm going to make sure I'm happy with the positioning of the navy leaves underneath the large flower. I'm then going to attach the 2 final flowers, and I did pop those up on some foam tape and a little bit of glue. I've chosen a chipboard sentiment from our kit, and I'm going to add that to the top left hand side of the card, and then as a finishing detail I'm bringing in one of the cardstock chipboard stickers that has a little fishtail banner, and I want to cover up the hole in that tag, so I've brought in one of the little hearts, and I'm going to position that so it covers the hole there in that chipboard tag. To finish off, I've taken one of our butterflies, and I'm just pressing it down in the middle, and I will actually come back and add foam tape underneath the butterfly's wings to prop it up. I will then add glossy accents to both the heart and the butterfly's body, as well as in the centre of some of my flowers. For my final card today, I've taken the really pretty bright coloured floral paper, and I've cut that down so it's slightly smaller than our card base. I've then taken 2 pieces of coordinating paper one with the yellow heart background and one with the green background, and I've cut those into two different sized banners, slightly overlapping each other. I then have some glitter tape that I'm going to bring in and add over top of my banners, and it's a pretty light pink colour that actually coordinates really nicely with the papers in the kit. And I'm just trimming off the excess there, and I'll make sure that's firmly attached. This is the sentiment I've cut out, and I've cut that, stamped it and embossed it, and then cut it into a square shape, and then use my corner chomper to round the edges of the sentiment. I've got my ephemera pieces here that I'm just trying to arrange, and I'm taking two of the very light yellow peach coloured leaves and popping them underneath my sentiment square, and then over top of the sentiment in the bottom right corner I'm adding that pretty floral, and to that I'm then also going to add one more little floral up in the left top corner. I decided that I wanted to have one of our chipboard stickers, and it's in the nice light pink colour, and I'm going to tuck that just underneath the floral arrangement. To finish off, I'm taking one of our smaller sequins and popping that into the centre of the flower at the top right of the sentiment, and then a couple more sequins to pop around the floral arrangement. And that card's all finished. Well, I do hope that you have enjoyed watching my card making today. And here's a final look at all the cards with all the finishes all fully dried, so you can see what they look like completed. And I think this was a really lovely kit. I had lots of fun creating with it. And I've made some are definitely love themed, others are more general that we can use for a multitude of different occasions. And I did seem to make a lot of landscape cards today, but that's how it goes sometimes. So if you did enjoy my video, I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already and giving me a thumbs up. Until next time, I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye bye for now.